Trump, wisely, went to that bodega on Tuesday. And take a look at this. This is in Harlem. I mean, it's, I don't know, hundreds deep. That's amazing. Charles, I know you can't go by crowd size in predicting who's going to get elected. Otherwise, Trump would have won 2020 as well. But that's Harlem, New York. And Trump is like a hero.
Yeah, I think, as you say, you can't go by crowd size. But what it does tell us is something interesting about the two candidates, in that Biden is, if he is going to win because he's the safe option. He's the default choice. He's the fallback. He's the guy that people who don't like Trump, for reasons good and bad, think that they have to vote for instead. He's not somebody that anyone in America seems to be enthused about. He's not Bill Clinton. He's not Ronald Reagan. He is there. Whereas Trump inspires responses. He inspires reactions, both good and bad, and for good and bad reasons. But he is somebody who does not yield yawns or the question who. Everyone knows who he is, and they know what he's about. And you're going to see a lot of that in the election. But I do think you were right in your introduction to the question to note that this dynamic also obtained in 2020. In fact, Joe Biden hid away for most of that election, and he still won. And I think this question is going to be, this election is going to be about which candidate can maintain their hold on suburban middle-class voters. Biden has a problem with them because of inflation and crime and his treatment of Israel. And Trump has a problem with them because he's uncouth, because of what he did at the end of the last election, which was a disgrace, and because he's ill-disciplined. And you know, I think that's going to be where the election's won or lost, not in crowd size.
The problem for Joe Biden is not only that, you know, it's kind of an interesting bumper sticker. I'm here. I'm here. But for Joe Biden, he's there. Hadn't heard anybody phrase it quite so succinctly. Is the recommendation for him. The problem for, what were you going to say, Jim?
My fellow Americans have a proud tradition of existence.
Exactly. That's Joe Biden's
the
story.
Early 1940s. Me and Corn Pop.
Did you guys happen to see the video on X yesterday of that woman in Brazil who tried to get some bank loan or payment that was owed to her uncle who is dead by wheeling the dead body in there? There's disturbing video, too disturbing to show. She's got the dead uncle in the bank with her. And you could see this is a dead man. And she's trying to pretend that he's alive, and she's talking to him to try to get him to sign these, however it would financially benefit her. I mean, it's like, just going to say, it looked a little familiar. It kind of looked a little like Jill Biden. We're not quite there. We're still with, I'm here. No. But Megyn, not making a lot of sense, Jim. Not making a lot of sense, because I got to tell you, he once again came out with a nonsense story about Uncle Bossy. He can't go 2 seconds without telling another familial lie, something about his background, his son, what have you. The latest one is about Uncle Bossy, to whom he was paying tribute as a World War II vet who died during World War II. And take a listen to what President Biden claimed about his long-lost uncle.
We called him Uncle Bossy. He was shot down. He was in the Army Air Corps before there was an Air Force. He flew single-engine planes, reconnaissance flights over New Guinea. He had volunteered because someone couldn't make it. He got shot down in an area where there were a lot of cannibals in New Guinea at the time. They never recovered his body, but the government went back when I went down there, and they checked and found parts of the plane and the like.
Okay, so virtually none of that was true. There is a dead uncle. He died in World War II. Was not in a single engine. He was in a double engine plane. Was not shot down. Officials say that they don't know what happened to the plane, but both engines failed. We know this because 3 died in the ocean, including his uncle, and 1 survived and went on to tell us what happened. There were no cannibals. Fact check, Jim.
Megyn,
No.
the cannibals swam out to the bottom of the ocean to where the plane was, and then they ate my uncle. Now, by the way, when you were playing that video of Biden in the restaurant earlier, and you noticed how nonchalant everyone was, that the president of the United States just walked in there, I noticed that quite a few folks were seated and remained seated when the president came in, which is, I believe, a violation of protocol. Even if there isn't a band there playing Hail to the Chief. Megyn, if Joe Biden shuffled his feet into your studio right now and said, Megyn, I got to tell you about my uncle and how the cannibals ate him and how terrible that was. It was right around, it was a little before I fought Corn Pop. You'd rise to your feet out of respect for the office, not necessarily an appreciation of the, you just would do it, because that's what you do for the president, whether you like the guy or you don't like the guy. So one, it's kind of some part of me as an American is a little disappointed to see people not rising when the president enters a room, whether or not they like him. And then the second thing is that this story, we've gotten used to the president talking about his conversations with Helmut Kohl, who died many years, Francois Mitterrand, who died lots of years. He mixed up Haifa and Rafah. Okay, we're all kind of used to this. But as a result of this, Biden really has no communications oomph anymore. He only does events between after 10 a.m. and before 4 p.m. Doesn't do a lot of night events other than the State of the Union once a year. Usually one public event a day. Goes back to Delaware. Even if Israel's about to be attacked, he goes back to Delaware every weekend. And he just doesn't communicate. He reads off the teleprompter. His staff is terrified of him going off the teleprompter. And we've all gotten used to it. And we know that if he tells a story, I was raised in a Puerto Rican, Jewish, African-American neighborhood, and that's how I was raised. And we know this is all nonsense. We've heard these stories from our grandparents and our parents, and we love our parents and our grandparents. But we put up with those stories because we love our elderly relatives. We don't love Joe Biden. He's just a guy who showed up here. Or as what the new inspiring slogan Charlie just came up with, he's here. That's all you can say. He's present.
For now.
As they used to say for
now. Present.
For now. Present for now. That's it.
You
They're
guys
wheeled
know,
into a bank somewhere as we speak.
I might have to show the video. It's disturbing. This is not the first lie about an uncle. I know it's bad, but you kind of can't take your eyes off of it. Uncle Frank, he lied about Uncle Frank. Remember, he said Uncle Frank received a Purple Heart. He said this back in October. My uncle won the Purple Heart in the Battle of the Bulge. And you guys fact-checked it and said, no, he didn't. There was absolutely no evidence that Frank Biden received a Purple Heart, either while dead or posthumously. His name does not appear on the 2 major databases of honorees, Traces of War or the National Purple Heart Hall of Honor. So no Purple Heart for Uncle Frank and no cannibals for Uncle Finnegan, but he continues to spew all of this stuff. Now, you mentioned the Haifa thing. This is actually kind of interesting and worthy of a soundbite. We're going to play it. This is really clear. The Israelis are thinking about moving into Rafah, and there's been a lot of news about whether they should, this is an appropriate pause. A lot of people really want Israel to take care of it, to finish Hamas off by going into Rafah. And this is what Biden said, Satu.
And I made it clear to Israelis, don't move on Haifa. It's just not, anyway, I just, look what we did recently when Israel was attacked.
Okay. How many times does this have to happen, Charles, right? Before somebody over on the Democratic side says, we're dead. He can't make it to, as you point out, October or November. He can't make it. We're going to have one of these that's calamitous between now and then. Or is it just he's polling within 1 point of Trump now in the national polls? Things are tightening in the swing states. Shut up. let's go Brazilian dead uncle. That's the plan.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. He is not up to being president. One of the really irritating things about the polarized politics that we live with at the moment, and about the fact that this is another election fought between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, is that whatever you say about either person, someone will immediately pop up and say, but what about the other one? Well, all right, but let's stipulate that. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that Donald Trump is disqualified from being president. Let's say that Donald Trump is a pathological liar. Then we can evaluate Biden. So Biden, as we established in the last segment, and anyone who has looked at the last 40 years of Biden's public career can attest, is a habitual liar.
As we approach another critical election, many Americans are concerned. Recent studies reveal that an astonishing 56% of citizens report feelings of anxiety or dread about the upcoming election. But I want to tell you about AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. AMAC is more than just a senior organization. During these challenging times, they fight for common sense and for the U.S. to return to traditional American values. Visit amac.us/Megyn today to get an exclusive election year special, a 4-year AMAC membership for just $30. As an AMAC member, you not only enjoy money-saving benefits, but also the AMAC magazine, free Social Security and Medicare advice, a trusted voice in Washington, and a community of like-minded patriots. Take advantage of this election year special, 4 years for $30, and be part of the solution. Join now at amac.us/Megyn. That's amac.us/MEGYN. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.